Hello, everyone. We want to take this opportunity to say thank you. As you grow at the Golden Boot, so do our needs, but we cannot do it without you. We ask that you continue to like our posts, share our content, and subscribe to our YouTube, Facebook, and other social media platforms. You may also visit thegoldenboot.com for the latest merch. If you would like to make a financial donation, you can do so through Cash App at @GoldenBoot or through PayPal at paypal.me/GoldenBoot. We look forward to bringing you more laughs, knowledge, and entertainment. And again, thank you for your endless support. Sincerely and respectfully, the Golden Boot team.
The views and opinions expressed in the Golden Boot podcast are those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the Golden Boot podcast as a whole.
Y'all ready to get rolling? Quiet on the set. Hey, welcome back to another episode of HBCU Hour. It's your boy Pooh Bear.
400 degrees.
Aunt Petty Murphy in the building. What's good with you tonight?
What's happening, my dog?
Listen, I told you Monday.
I know.
I've been waiting on this conversation for it feel like forever. When we talked about it Saturday, I was waiting to have this conversation here. But before we get to it, you know what I'm saying? We got special guests with us. Before we get to it, though, we talked before the show. You told me, you said, man, my daughter going to a dance. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, you know. I just was on Facebook when I was, sharing. I seen the pictures. Tell my niece, I fight 11, 12, 13-year-olds. I fight them too. Tell them boys, I said, back up.
Yeah, dog. I'm trying not to think about it, dog. It's a little traumatized.
Look like you're finna cry in the picture too.
Nah, I ain't going that far. But she's growing up too fast though, dog. You know,
man, it'd be like that. It'd be like that, man. My daughter went to homecoming. Freshman year, she went to homecoming. How she dressed? I was like, oh, she's so cute. She went to homecoming last year. Like, I will fight these boys out here.
Yeah, so, I feel you.
Yeah. But we got a deep conversation that we gotta have tonight. Shout out to the people in the chat, man. Zay said, "What's up?" Simple, what's good, Simple?
I ain't saying Simple.
Yeah, Simple be working, man. Every time, like, Simple, what you been up to? Be working. True. He be out there working. But hey, Zay said, if you need help hiding somebody, I got you.
Hey, I believe him. I'm just gonna say that.
Yeah. But let's not keep our guests waiting, man. We got the fellas from X's and O's pod. We got 1/4 a down south football pod. We almost had a half of down south football. Dave don't like us no more though. He said I don't know why. He don't like us no more. Nah, just playing. He had something come up, so he couldn't be with us tonight. But without further ado, bring it back. Our good man, BJ Jones, 1/3, excuse me, because I can't forget about Miss Erica. 1/3 of X's and O's. We're gonna have to update his bio too. We got Josh Sims of currently HBCU Nightly, but also X's and O's. Then we got our man Renard with his glamour shot photo. We got Renard from Down South Football Podcast joining us tonight. Fellas, welcome back to HBCU Hour, man. Glad to have y'all, man. Appreciate y'all being here.
Is that a turtleneck? That young man got on a turtleneck?
It was
they got on that.
him and Dooley was shopping together.
Hey, bro, don't do me like that.
That's gonna be clean right there. Them young boys don't know nothing about that.
Hey, fool, why when you gave my name in the introduction, you ain't had no excitement in your voice?
Man, listen,
you gave DJ all the excitement. You gave brother Renard all the excitement when he said we got Josh.
You know what? You absolutely. Let's go back and do it.
Apparently,
here we go. From HBCU nightly.
There we go.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about, dog.
You might know him from the What's Going Down episode of That's My Mama. Mr. Joshua Sims.
Oh man.
Oh boy, you crazy, bro.
That's for chocolate.
Well, I can tell you, but I definitely can tell you come right up out of a church home, boy. For real.
Oh yeah.
Man, fellas, how y'all doing this evening though, man? Appreciate y'all.
Man, doing good, man.
Yeah, blessed.
Appreciate y'all for being here. I'm gonna say it to y'all like I said to to the chat, man, and everybody who be watching. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. We appreciate that. Fellas, when I hit y'all up, told y'all it's a deep conversation. We want to have a deep dive conversation because especially for some reason, this Final Four on the women's side, it was heavily filled with just like coded language, dog whistles. Don Staley, we gonna get to it, but Don Staley made a comment and people were like, boom, instantly it was like, oh, she making this up. Oh, this is wrong. It's political, this, that, and the other. And I was like, fighting in the chats or fighting on Twitter with people. And I was like, you know what? It's not, it's hard to explain stuff in 280 characters or 140, however many you got. It's hard to explain this stuff and be accurate and get this across to people and relay that, hey, this isn't just what you see on the surface. So I want to bring y'all on and talk about this. So I'm gonna say to the chat, it might be some things y'all don't like to hear. It might be some things that make it cringe or make it, tingle in your spine a little bit.
Uncomfortable conversation,
but it's a conversation that needs to be had. Should have been had a long time ago. But let me get started. Woke. The word woke. We hear always, as soon as you say something about race or somebody makes a comment and you correct somebody or you say, hey, this is, there's racism involved in that, you're called woke. So, origins of the word. Do y'all know how far back the first time woke was documented?
1923.
There you go. It was Marcus Garvey, 1923, when he says, I just had it too. He was like, wake up Ethiopia. Wake up, I think it was wake up Ethiopia, wake up Nigeria. And
wake up Africa.
Wake up Africa. There you go. Wake up Africa. And when he said it, he wasn't saying it to say, hey, we're going to get politically activated to, say correct anything that you're saying.
It was a as a fellow Pan-Africanist, right? Mm-hmm. What the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey was doing was more so creating a challenge to the descendants of those people of Ethiopia, to the descendants of those people of Nigeria, to the descendants of those who are Africans. Marcus Garvey is most noted in my eyes for the quote, "What is for the Africans must be done by Africans," right? So by specifically calling specific ethnic groups, by specifically calling specific nationalities, there was an intentionality there. And for those of you who have an opportunity just to study the history behind Nigeria, the history of Ethiopia, and then the history of the African continent, there's a reason why he says it the way he says it. And it is very, very incumbent for anybody that's going to listen to this episode to really, really understand. Because we talked about it. Who had me at, let's get into coded language. Like, he had me at coded language. The Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey was a master of understanding coded language, but also speaking in code, where there was a specific group of people who would understand what he was saying. And so even in this episode, man, I won't get too long-winded into, my affinity for Marcus Garvey, my affinity for Pan-Africanism, my affinity for brothers like, Booker T. Washington and W.E.B. Du Bois and Frederick Douglass, but, also Kwame Nkrumah and Philip Lumumba. These are people who I have an affinity for, who understood the coded language of the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. So I'm gonna land my pen there because I don't want to get too deep into this yet. But I see all my brothers, they understand where we really could go. We really could go with that.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, for me, Marcus Garvey, that's the originator of the term. But what made it really jump off, and people don't talk about this, was later on in the 1900s. I think it was 1938, when you had Huddie Ledbetter. They call him Lead Belly. He was a singer on the Chitlin circuit when he wrote a song about the Scottsboro Boys. Pull you right there in Alabama. A little, couple of miles to the east of you, you got Scottsboro, Alabama. You had 9 black teenagers that were falsely accused of rape. And he wrote a song called the Scottsboro Boys, and when in the line of the song, he said, "Stay woke." And what he was talking about was, man, hey, we need to stay woke to, the political climate, these traps that they have for us, and just what different things to be aware of our surroundings. And that kind of stayed around in the South for a while, and you had Kwame Ture and some other people that adopted that. So it's been around a long time, and what you've seen now is you probably had somebody who was ear hustling that don't look like us. They heard something and thought that they knew what it meant because they had gone to Harvard and some of these other institutions. And now we could just call a spade a spade. The GOP has hijacked it and turned it into something. When you ask them what it is, they can't really give you an answer because there was no understanding of it when it was hijacked and spread, amongst them in the first place.
Right. Yeah, me and Pooh was talking about this the other day. Like, it kind of got mainstreamed after the Hidden Colors movie. They came out, and there was kind of a movement of kind of understanding where you come from and understanding the history of where you come from, kind of what Marcus Garvey was asking, kind of, understand your history and embrace your history. There was kind of a wave of that after those movies came out, and it just so happened to coincide with a lot of the separate Black Lives Matter movements and things of that nature, and it kind of coincided where there were people who were, on both sides separately, parts of both groups, and they all got labeled together as being woke, and they turned being woke into being black, or being this or being that instead of what it actually stood for. That's why they can't give you a definition, because they correlated with being black or being a Democrat or being a liberal or whatever fits the conversation at that time. But whenever you ask them just to define it, generally there's no definition for it because they have no context.
Yeah. Now, Nord, we had this conversation a little bit, little while ago. Let me ask you this: define woke for me.
To me, in today's term, I mean, I'm just being bluntly honest. A lot of people use it in place of the N-word, and it's just like, well, every time I turn around, this is what I see, like in different chats and different places that I'm in. It's like, oh, everything is woke. Everything, like, it doesn't matter what it's about. Everything's 100% about woke. So you basically just replacing everything with an N word, or you just say like, is this talking about something for black people? Just a whole different word. But when I say, well, give me more context of what you mean. Oh, you know what that means? No, I don't. That's why I asked the question. I'm asking the question for a real, like, I'm trying to have a conversation, and nobody can really tell me. I've asked several people of not the same color of me. I heard you reference woke. Can you tell me what you mean by that? And nobody can tell me. I was like, well, sound like to me you're just replacing woke with the N word. That's basically what it says. Like that's like the new age terminology. Now it's like everybody's grasp onto it. Say like how, it's just all these woke ass people. What does that
politics.
even? Yeah, woke politics. What does that even
Woke
mean?
Woke politics. I think it's incumbent upon us, right? So I think it's important for us if we really are going to be able to really create some solutionary tactics and ideas behind this, right? Because I mean, it's two things that I really want us to point out. We talk about our people in America, black people in America, being the progenitors of culture, about us leading culture. So we have to have a conversation about how does this leave from our culture where we have a clear understanding of what it means. And it becomes hijacked, redefined, and regenerated by what people will call popular culture, what I call traditional American culture. And now traditional American culture and conservatism go hand in hand like peanut butter and jelly. So we've seen multiple times how something we create from a cultural standpoint, it becomes a cultural nuance for us. It is then hijacked, co-opted, and changed almost overnight by traditional American culture. And then all of a sudden, it almost seems like some of our people forget what it really meant from the get-go. It's almost like the masses of our people, because we're having to play on the defense, we forget. The second part I think I want everybody to really just think about, in order for us to really, really create solutionary tactics around this, we cannot, if we know that when we hear, because I absolutely agree with Brother Renard, that when you hear woke, it is obvious that they're talking about the concept of blackness. But what we have to be very, very careful of, and we have to be very intentional of, is that we do not allow, if we're going to create a solution around it, we do not allow other marginalized groups, other minority-based concepts and ideologies to hitch their wagon to the concept that is wokeness. Whether that is gender fluidity, I have zero problem with anybody's gender identification and all of that stuff, but we cannot allow that to be a part of this and let that hitch its wagon to it, because then that furthermore muddies the waters. And when it's time for us to explain to the masses this is what this really means, then they can easily just be able to just place a pin or place a flag or place an identifier, or also known as inside of the identifier. And not to say that they shouldn't have their own concepts and ideologies, but if we're being honest, this is something that was enabled and inebriated from our culture. That for whatever reason, we let it seep out of our culture and enter into, and I would say social media may have had a big part to do with that. But let it a huge part. We let it seep out of our culture, where BJ and I could be having a conversation and I could tell him, stay woke, brother. He can say back to me, stay woke, brother. And we have a clear understanding of what we mean by that. Is to be conscious of the undertone and the ideology and the realities of being black. Whether from a historical concept, from a modern day concept, or from a futuristic concept. We would understand that. So if I said to Ant, stay woke, brother, he could take it offensively, or he could be like, you're right, stay woke. Yeah. But it's a cultural understanding.
Right.
Where it is when we allow for other marginalized groups to be involved into that, they can co-opt and change that message, that idea. And then now we sitting amongst each other and we don't even know what this word really even means anymore. How this phrase even came about and where it's from. So.
All right. So going back to the origins, we talked about, Marcus Garvey, when he originally said it. It was also heavily used in the 40s when black people were literally woken up out of their sleep due to terrorism because of maybe the Klan or someone coming after your child, i.e., Emmett Till, stores like that. When I first started hearing woke, it didn't mean, because me at Mike, he drops in, he says woke is all encompassing. It means you're young, black, white, liberal, socialist, communist, and democratic. All it means is that you're on the far left. That's the true definition of being woke. That's not.
No,
it's not. It's not at all. So when people say, well, when it was used, the proper terminology was basically be conscious of what's going on. Be conscious of what's happening around you. Hey, you know what I'm saying? Keep an eye out, because what seems to be an ally may not be an ally. What seems to be friendly may not be your friend. It may be, it most likely is foe. And that's all it ever mean. It was never anything about any side of the political fence. Because let's be honest, politically speaking, most black people currently vote Democratic, but it wasn't but a couple generations ago, maybe even one generation ago, that most black people voted Republican.
Switch parties. Yeah.
So it's never ever really been about politics. Let's dive more into the sports side of things now. Let's get into the dog whistles. I felt like we had to define woke because it comes up. And even now we're having this conversation. Somebody's going to, if we clip something out of, they're going to see it and say, oh, y'all being woke. So
that's no problem.
I have no problem with it, but do you know what that means? And that's because every time I see somebody say it, the first thing he said, he talked. First thing I say, define it. We can't further our conversation till you define it. And if you define it wrong, I'm gonna explain to you, no, you're wrong. This is why you're wrong. I mean, you can go on. So back in February, UConn played South Carolina. Gino Auriemma, excuse me, basically talked about the physicality of South Carolina. But it was he said it.
Here we go.
It's how he said it. Most recently, Lisa Bluder, the Iowa coach, women's basketball coach, she made comments about South Carolina. So I'm gonna play this video real quick, and we're gonna talk about that.
If you want to bring Lou in and you can see the bruises on her body, it's just appalling what the teams do to her now. And it's not basketball anymore. I don't know what it is, but it's not basketball. So that was a problem. I thought that was a problem. And, more for Lou, not because of, anything else, but I just don't like seeing a kid. And she responded amazingly, right? But I don't like to see a kid get manhandled like that, right in front of the officials.
I think they had 25 offensive rebounds yesterday against Maryland. 25 or 26. I mean, they're an amazing offensive rebounding team. Somebody kind of described it to me as you're going to a bar fight when you try to get into go rebound against them. They're just so good.
Now, Lisa, Coach Bluder, whatever. The way she tried to make it sound complimentary when she said that.
I've never heard that be a compliment ever.
Auriemma basically was a plea to the referees about how these, saying South Carolina was so, I guess, in my words, they were so dominant and physical. Do we want to go? I was gonna say, do you want to play Don's? You want to play Don's reaction first?
Before you do that, I just wrote down 2 words. The first word was manhandled. When you say someone was manhandled, you're referring to a little boy and a grown man type of situation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Adult child situation.
Right.
And that term, not manhandled, basically referring to the physicality of South Carolina, almost saying that they're man-like in their, you know what I'm saying, in their physicality. I have a problem with that, first of all. Not even on a racial line, you know what I mean, but just on a gender line. And then the bar fight thing, I've heard people say that that's a compliment, but you don't use it as a compliment ever. I mean, I've
I've
never
never
heard
heard that
anybody
being
use
used
that
as
as a compliment. It's always used in a derogatory manner. So I don't understand how you can try to twist that to all of a sudden be a compliment when it's always been an insult. Yeah.
I'm trying to think if I've ever heard anybody use the term bar fight in any type of even a halfway decent.
Anytime I've heard bar fights or anything like that, is ironically, it's always dealing with like the Navy or something like that, because when they come on shore, they get drunk in a bar and they, so get the scrappy and stuff. I've heard scrappy. I heard that team is scrappy, or that team is something like, and I've
tough.
The closest thing I've heard to a bar fight situation is like them old Pittsburgh, Baltimore Ravens games, and the Baltimore Ravens, and they say it's like a barroom fight whenever you playing one of these type games, but that's a totally different sport,
right?
You know what I mean? Where you're supposed to be that physical and you're supposed to have that mentality. I've never heard it used in this sense to be I've never heard that.
I just find it interesting, and I don't know how you fellas feel about this. That Gino, for a long time, had the biggest bully on the block, from Maya Moore to Diana Taurasi.
Tina
Charles. You know what I'm saying? Jessica Moore, name them.
Yeah.
All right, it's a long list. And his teams had the reputation from being very, very physical. So physical to the point that, remember, at the end of the Diana Taurasi era in 2004, they were talking about this team can probably beat some men's teams because of how physical they were. Mm-hmm. It's amazing now we can't stomach physicality.
I said last night, I said last night on our show on the Go to Boot side, I said it's funny how a lot of people who had a problem with Angel Reese did were older, baby boomer type generation, the toughest generation. And now all of a sudden they, that generate that I walked in the snow 5 miles uphill both ways to go to school with no shoes on. And now all of a sudden it's like, they're being too, handsy. They doing too. It's like now all of a sudden they're soft.
I don't even know. I'm a little confused about how coaches in any sport, because I've seen Nick Saban do it, find ways to whine and complain when he no longer had the competitive advantage. You see Gino Auriemma doing it now. He no longer has the competitive advantage, and so it puts me in a headspace where it's almost like, well, if that's how you feel, then what parent is sending their child to go play for coaches like that? Why are you sending your kid to play for coach? It's almost like I don't want to play in the sandbox unless I got all the toys, unless I got all the buckets and the shovels. It's only right, lady. Sorry, y'all.
Kind of dad moment right there.
Quick, he snapped that.
I mess around and get in trouble. That's my wife and my mama, man. They gonna get me back later.
Yeah. Hey,
but
we gonna see that church finger go up and Josh gonna be out the show.
I'm gonna have to call the twins in a minute, y'all. They gonna come in and get me. But ultimately, I just think it's interesting to see that. And I'm sorry, y'all. I'm gonna say this, and this, I mean no disrespect to no other programs. I just wish that Don Staley was at an HBCU. I wish that an HBCU was getting this energy. I really do. I wish that they were saying that this is just overtly too physical playing against a team like this, and it's an HBCU. I just wish that these were the complaints, Because for me, in my mind, then I guess for me, it would be like, you know what I mean? I guess maybe it would make more sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I get it.
You know, I just don't understand how UConn, a coach at UConn, can feel a type of way about a coach at the University of South Carolina. And it's blatant, it's clear as day that the reason why you feel like that is because of who this lady is. It's because she's black. It's because those players are black and they're being taught to play the game the way that we've always been taught to play the game where we come from. And I'm not saying you got to be from the hood to know how to play this. I would go to the YMCA and the dude with the goggles and the long tube socks would be in there, and he'd be in there throwing elbows at 13, 14-year-olds. It's always been like that.
They get down in LA Fitness. Shout out to Scott.
I'm talking about the Rupert Bell. I'm from Winston-Salem. I'm talking about the Rupert Bell parts of the world where everybody outside, all it is just a covering over the basketball goals. It's 6 basketball goals, full court games going on, and somebody mess around and hit a J and hit a jump shot in somebody's face, call somebody out their name. That's how we're used to playing. So I don't understand why this is the commentary when I guess it's because it feels so unfamiliar to them. It feels unfamiliar. I think you also have a cold word right there too.
And I think you also have to look at this. Me and Josh, we talked about this earlier. My daughter plays softball. The majority of the time when my daughter touches the field, she is on the field. She's either the only black little girl or one of the only black little girls on the field. She's in North Alabama region, Madison, Huntsville. So you know the softball circuit and you know how that is. My daughter's a baller now. She ran into a pitcher a few weeks ago. Every time she struck somebody out, the pitcher gave him the death stare. We're talking about 10-year-old girls now. She gave him the stare. My daughter rocked her. You know what I'm saying? Put one over the fence, and when she did the little lean. Now the other opposing coaches and the opposing team got a problem with it. She didn't have any problem with the death stare, and it's that it's that sports is a microcosm of society.
Bingo.
We see this in society. When you see someone who you think you go bully somebody because they look a certain kind of way, and then they get at you, and now you want to play the victim. You know what I'm saying? You've been victimized. So I think, and this is not something that is new. This is something that has been going on for decades. When you understand the role of politics and race in sports, and if you look at the basketball game this weekend, it felt like old school boxing. You remember old school boxing? You got the white dude and the black dude, and America is divided on them lines. That's what it felt like. It felt like everybody black was rooting for LSU, and and that's what it felt like. And unfortunately, that's what we get, and that's what we've gotten for centuries in this country, going all the way back to Jack Johnson.
But it was 1966, Glory Road, Texas Western versus Kentucky. It was just the women's version of that, bro. I mean, honestly, that's what we had.
So I think the difference in what made this one a little bit more palatable was the fact that Kim Mulkey was coaching LSU versus it being a quote unquote Don Staley.
Because but that's why I said the Texas Western.
Yeah, and you're exactly right.
You know what I mean? It was
and you're exactly right. So here's the kicker for me. And I know we have a lot of LSU fans who watch watch HBCU because of the Golden Boot side. A lot of LSU fans, when me and Ant talked about the racism side with Angel Reese a while back, when they were talking about she's ghetto and stuff like that, they'd be like, oh man, since that's just her character. Now, matter of fact, even Saturday, after Don Staley made her which we got to play the video, when she made her statement, they were like, oh, that's Don, since she crying because she lost. When America just started attacking Angel Reese, the story changed, and it was like, why, you know, saying, oh, this is racist. Y'all calling her out because the only reason you're saying stuff is because she's black. And it's like, I'm glad y'all see it now. So it's when it's one of your own.
I wondered how the traditional American LSU fan felt about this.
I could.
You want to know what it reminds?
I stayed up till almost 2:00 in the morning having a conversation with my brother about that specifically.
All right, so what it reminded me of was last summer, Jaden Daniels transfers to LSU. And you have a portion of the fan base who automatically doesn't want him to ever get a snap. He's a running quarterback. He's this, that. He's another, you know, he's not better than Miles Brennan. He's not better than Nussmeier. He's not better than any of these guys. He should play receiver, this, that, and the other. Florida State game we lose. He played okay. He needs to get benched, bringing the back up. Fast forward, up and down roller coaster of a season. They bashing him 1 week, loving him 1 week, bashing him 1 week. He beats Bama. All of a sudden, we love Jaden Daniels. 5 is our guy. Jaden Daniels for Heisman. This, that, and the other. Fast forward to women's basketball season. Angel Reese gets criticized. It's they just hate LSU. They just hate LSU. It's just they hate LSU. Angel Reese gets left off the top 2 player of the year finalist list. All of a sudden, it goes from they hate LSU to why they hating on Angel Reese? Why they hating on Angel Reese? Fast forward to Sunday afternoon, and the whole world's hating on Angel Reese. Oh, y'all wouldn't be saying this if it was Caitlin Clark. Y'all just hating on Angel Reese because she's black.
Yeah.
So hypocritical. It sounds a little bit hypocritical.
From not wanting a black quarterback 7 months ago, 8 months ago, to calling out racism for one of your players is a stark difference in a short span of time.
So what do you think happened?
You can see it whenever it affects someone that benefits you.
When it affects their
whenever
family.
it affects somebody else, you don't care about it. Like you know, it reminds me of The Blind Side.
Absolutely.
So
no, let him cook. Let's see where this goes.
Yeah, I want to see where he goes.
The little woman in the movie, right? She was taking care of the one who played football with her, right? But whenever they took that trip to where he was from, did she care about everybody else, or did she only care about the one that was benefiting her? And she went back and kept taking care of the one that was benefiting her, but she ain't do nothing about everybody else who was struggling too. You see it whenever it benefits you, but you don't see it whenever it benefits somebody else.
My brother BJ Jones has a phenomenal quote.
It's the
Go ahead, B.
Dr. Michael Larry Dyson calls it NIMBY. Not in my backyard. Right? So you have people, no one will ever admit to being a racist. Like we know that that's something that, you know, is just bad, right?
Yeah, I got
but we friends. Just we just catch you in the act. I'm gonna give you an example.
I got black friends.
You remember them basketball players from Ole Miss back in 2018 did what they did about the Confederate flag when they took a knee during the national anthem about the Confederate flag? A lot of people thought that was going to go really bad for the young brothers, but because they were playing basketball, and I think Ole Miss at the time was kind of in the hunt for a tournament, it was just like, man, we can't be doing them like that, man. We got to make sure that these brothers okay. But then the rest of the students that couldn't run or jump, that looked like them, said something. Oh, you shut the hell up. You know, if you can't benefit me, I don't really care about your comfort level. Now, if you can benefit me, you come in here, you can run, jump, you can catch a couple passes. uh, reluctantly we'll kind of listen to you, and that's the hypocrisy of not only collegiate sports, but that's the hypocrisy of America. When you
Mm-hmm.
look at how race moved forward, a lot of it was due to the engine, the vehicle of it was sports.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
The vehicle of it was sports. There were
Mm-hmm.
people that had no problem admitting to you that they love Jackie Robinson or they love to say, "Hey kid," they love Hank Aaron, and those same people would throw a brick at Dr. Martin Luther King. Those same people would throw a brick at Jesse Jackson today. You know what I mean? So that's the hypocrisy in the country that we've been here, and like I said, it ain't getting any better. They're a little bit better about kind of hiding and changing it up a little bit, but the game is always the same.
Yeah, and
So
to your point, my bad, Poopa, to your point about the sports being the vehicle or the catalyst for a lot of that change, I remember hearing my granddad tell me a story about he could play baseball on the team with the white kids, but he couldn't ride the bus to school with them same white kids. So you could play sports with these kids, and that's fine and dandy, but you're not on their level to ride the same bus as them. So, sports, you're benefiting me, so hey, I'm all for you being a part of our circle. But all of a sudden, once you're no longer benefiting me on this field, you're in
Yeah,
your
the
own
game
little
game
circle.
is over. The game is
Yeah.
over.
yeah,
Time to go
Game
back home.
go back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Time to go back home.
yeah.
Hey, I'm sorry. Go
Back
ahead,
where you
Pooh.
belong.
Now I was going to say, I heard the story about Sam Bam
Cunningham.
Cunningham. Um,
hmm
Yeah.
Bear Bryant saying I need to give me one of them.
yeah. So Alabama was not going to integrate football. Didn't matter. Once they saw how USC as a whole, because USC had a little people don't talk about it. USC had an entirely black backfield. The quarterback was black, both running backs were black. Sam Cunningham ran all over them, and Bear Bryant was like, I think it wasn't even Bear Bryant, because I think Bear Bryant was like already saying, "Hey, we need to integrate." The fans was like, "No." If I'm not mistaken, how the story go. Once the fans saw that, it was like, you know what? Maybe maybe we ought to reconsider here.
I'm gonna tell you guys this, and I want you guys to look this up because this is a myth. This is a myth, but it's one of the great myths out there. You guys realize when Sam Cunningham, Bear Bryant set the game up, by the way, because that had been pressure by some of the black students at the University of Alabama, weren't many. They wanted the university to recruit black football players, and contrary to what people believe, Bear Bryant also wanted to do that as well. He couldn't get that past the president nor the governor. All
Yeah.
right. When that game took place, that was in 1970. All right. Wilbur Jackson and a couple of those guys had signed that spring. They just weren't eligible as freshmen. So when that happened, Alabama had already signed, I think it was 2 or 3 black football players that spring. When that game happened, they just weren't eligible because at the time freshmen weren't eligible. So it's one of those things that I didn't learn until I got older, that the myth is that Sam Bam Cunningham, he integrated, Alabama football, when in reality Alabama football had already been integrated.
Yeah. So let me ask y'all this real quick. Have y'all gone back and watched Remember the Titans as an adult?
Yeah.
I went back.
No.
I watched it it was a couple weeks ago on a flight. And as I watched it as an adult, it was a lot more stuff that I understood or picked up on that I didn't necessarily pick up on or understood, you know what I'm saying, when it first came out.
It gets even more interesting when you have a chance to sit and actually listen to Coach Boone himself, who's a North Carolina Central graduate. He stayed literally in the same.
He slid that in there. Go ahead.
I'm talking about he slid his smooth in.
Had to slide that in there. He was a junior when my grandfather was a freshman at North Carolina Central, and both of them are part of the same fraternity. Both of them, really having similar friends and having similar acquaintances. And I remember having an opportunity as an adult to ask him, how did he think about his portrayal in the movie? And he said that if they really showed 1/10 of what really actually happened, they might not have been able to put that movie inside of the theaters. And so, as you're an adult, that's one of my favorite movies. I mean, I watched that movie before football games. I watched it in the off season, just to get through the summer months. You know what I mean? You playing this, you got to wait all the way till August to get to camp. So June, July, you watch a whole bunch of football movies. Remember the Titans was right there at the top of the list for me always. But it changed how I watched the movie because there's some stuff that's missing in there. For example, did you ever ask yourself, how does the black board member get to the place where he asks and tells Coach Boone that if you lose, you're going to lose your job? Anybody ever think what happened to make him pull him to the side like that and tell him that?
Yeah.
These was questions that I went back and watched the movie as an adult, like you said, Pooh, after I had that conversation with Coach Boone. How he get the fortitude to even go and say that to a man who moved his whole family? Furthermore, we know what was happening in Virginia at the time. How they find Coach Boone? What was it about Coach Boone's resume that made them go and seek after him? With a coach who was already proven and had won games in that area at that school at TC Williams. Integration made you go and find a coach from a whole nother state. Because if you don't know the story of Coach Boone. Coach Boone was coaching in North Carolina at the time. He was a head coach in North Carolina at the time. They went across the border to go find a coach who, whether y'all know it or not, Coach Boone had only won one state championship at the time in North Carolina. It wasn't like he was dominating. What was it? What was the relationship between? See, these are things that when we start having conversations about things like this, what we doing right here together, this camaraderie and this alignment as black men and our ability to be able to, you just know what you know. My granddad used to tell me, it ain't but so long that a fake player can pretend that real recognizes real. That everybody has a way and an ability to be able to look into the soul of him and the spirit of a man and know, is he real or is he for show? And so you're absolutely right. I have watched the movie multiple times, but it didn't change the blinders by which, or the glasses by which I watched that movie until I had a conversation with the man himself. And if you just knew, if we don't have enough time tonight to talk about some of the stuff he say looked really, really happy. And so, I appreciate Disney for making it a glamorous movie. It was a phenomenal movie. Hands down, probably one of my favorite movies still. It's got that Disney sprinkle on there. It's got the ability to put the kids to bed. It's got that Disney sprinkle on it. But I would ask for anybody that gets a chance, go back and look. There are 3 articles written where Coach Boone is actually talking about his experience during that process as well. You get a chance. There's one that was written inside of the Durham Herald and Sun. When you get an opportunity, anybody that has a chance, just you got 10 minutes, you're sitting on the toilet, you want to just kind of pass the time by, go read what Coach Boone had to say about it.
Definitely one of my favorite movies, like for real.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I mean, love the movie.
I can quote it like it was yesterday, that's just what you do. But you're exactly right, Josh. Like you don't when you watch it the first time, not even the first time, but after the first couple times, it's like as you grow more mature and as things happen, as you shift and where your focus is, you start asking questions like, what about this? How did they get to this point right here? Like, how did this happen? Like, well, what about this part right here? I know it's a movie, but it's like you just trying to make sure like what you're getting everything correct, and you just like, I know it didn't happen anything like this at all.
Yeah. Willie Jeffries tells the best stories about Coach Boone. They were actually really, really good friends. And like I said, I haven't watched Remember the Titans since I heard Coach Boone speak about the movie and some things that were missing and how it really was. And like, I was just like, yeah, I'd much rather just do the documentaries and read the book.
Coach Jeffries is a legend too, man. He's got some stories himself about what it was like during that time, man.
So we're talking about that time. I want to bring it current. Let's talk about this. Josh, this like what you said, what got you hooked? Dog whistles and coded language in sports.
Mm-hmm.
When you hear something like matter of fact, y'all could tell me, I'm gonna go Renard. If I told you,
don't do me like that.
No, I'm gonna ask you a question. If I said this quarterback is sneaky athletic, what can you tell me about that quarterback?
Black.
Huh?
Black.
No. The sneaky athletic one.
Oh, sneaky athletic. I'm sorry, that word came across wrong.
That's the white dude.
Sneaky athletic. Yeah, he definitely ain't black. Whatever he is, he's not African American because he's sneaky athletic. Because we heard, because I'm telling you, here in the state of Alabama, you heard that about Bo Nix his whole life when he was at Auburn.
You know what? Whoever they calling sneaky athletic, you know what else they calling him? Yeah. They're calling him a coach on the field. Bring his lunch pail to work type of guy.
Oh, yeah. Hard worker. Coach can be a coach's kid. Like he conducts himself with the knowledge of. Let me stop.
Let me stop.
Hey, I almost was petty, boy. I ain't finna do it too.
You can. I mean, listen. If they ain't. Never mind.
Like the type of kids somebody wants to recruit to play quarterback. You know what I mean? They come from a 2-parent household.
Even though his son didn't, but you know.
All right.
I knew BJ was gonna do it.
Always.
BJ. This quarterback plays street ball in the pocket.
Yeah, he's black.
He more than black.
He might even have some dreads or cornrows.
Yeah.
Or some goals in his mouth.
This is Draymond Green at quarterback.
Yeah.
This is the epitome. This is literally the definition of blackness at quarterback.
Yeah.
Did somebody just say he might have dreads and cornrows?
Yeah. Let me ask this. All right, Josh. He's cerebral with the ball.
Wow. You talking about one of the Mannings or somebody like that? You talking about Archie, or you may be talking about Peyton or Eli, a little. What's the young boy named Arch?
Arch.
You must be talking about Arch.
So, when people say stuff like that, it seems on the surface is nothing wrong with what they said on the surface, but there's always underlying meanings in there. When you say somebody is sneaky, because like I said, this goes twofold. When you say he's sneaky athletic, that's saying that white quarterbacks are typically not fast. They can't be quote unquote dual threats. He is the above average speed for a white guy. When you say he's playing street ball in the pocket, it sounds like because let me flip that. Johnny Manziel wasn't saying he was playing street ball in the pocket. Now he looked like he was playing pick him up and bust him every time he touched the ball. For those of you who don't understand what pick him up and bust him is, let me break it down. Pick him up and bust him is a game of football where you don't necessarily have a team. You throw the ball in the air, pick up the ball, and you try to run to get a touchdown. You may get if you get
hot ball. Okay,
yeah, we call pick in Alabama. We say pick them up and bust them. So everybody is
all Alabama now.
Not all Alabama, because we call this smear the Q word.
That might be a Mobile thing.
No, it's been. I've heard. Well, that might be a Mobile.
I actually heard it be called that.
We call it high ball.
Not that game in particular though.
High ball.
But it does have something to do with football.
Yeah, but when you say street ball, because see, Johnny Manziel, the way it was described, he was creative in the pocket.
Mhm.
He was elusive in the pocket, something like that. But Patrick Mahomes, albeit as close to white as Patrick Mahomes is, because it's funny, a lot of people didn't realize how black he was until
What
his
Jay-Z?
daddy got up there. You know what I'm saying?
Smoking that Joe Burrow.
Yeah, smoking that Joe Burrow.
Smoking on that Joe Burrow.
A lot of people didn't realize how black Patrick Mahomes is. It's funny because but he's always kind of said he claimed he's black, and I don't mean that trying to be funny. He's always claimed say, hey, I'm a black man and this, that, and the other.
That's the thing. No matter how close he is, no matter his proximity to whiteness, still woke.
Yeah. But Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson,
still woke.
Jalen Hurts, they were all called, it's been said they play street ball in the pocket. Street ball sounds like you're unorganized. It's a me first versus team first kind of mentality. So that's the connotation that comes with it.
Go back and listen to what they said about Randall Cunningham. You can YouTube it. Go listen to what they said about Randall Cunningham. It don't stop there. I mean, Steve McNair, Aaron Brooks. I mean, we can.
I remember what they were saying about AB when he was coming out.
Yeah,
when Aaron Brooks was coming out of UV, when he was coming out of Virginia, man, they called him everything but a child of God. He was going to have to switch to wide receiver. That there was no way that he could even develop the mechanics to play quarterback in the NFL. And
he took the Saints to the playoffs.
Took the Saints to the playoffs.
First
won the first playoff game in franchise history.
Yeah.
But it's funny. Every time they talk about wide receivers, quarterbacks switching to receivers, they always mention the Terrell Pryor. They always mention those guys. You know who I never hear mention? Eric Crouch.
Eric Crouch, yeah.
Matt Jones, quarterback from Arkansas who switched to. I don't never hear those names brought up.
Yeah. Danny Amendola.
Yeah.
I only hear the Terrell Pryors. I only hear those guys being mentioned.
Don't fit the narrative.
Antoine Randall, yeah. It really doesn't fit the narrative. And the reality is that we have to be extremely dangerous. I've come to the place where, from a quarterback perspective, you're starting to see now, dual threat, it's now becoming, that's the direction that the league is going in. And if we be honest, a lot of that is because they're just getting familiar with it and comfortable with it because of Josh Allen. When Cam Newton was running circles around the league,
there wasn't a sustainable offense.
They didn't feel like, well, we need more quarterbacks like Cam Newton in the NFL. There wasn't a lot of conversation around that, right? They looked at this is just an anomaly. This is a once in a lifetime type athlete playing the position. And there ain't a lot of guys that's like that. And it's not really until you get into a Josh Allen who makes it a little bit more comfortable for them to be able to consume, seeing a guy who can run the ball just as much as he can throw the ball.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought up Cam Newton.
Killer.
That double standards. The year that I believe it was the year they went to the Super Bowl. Cam Newton, they was dancing on. He was dancing on everybody. He scored. He dabbing. I'm talking about he Supermaning. He hitting all kind of dance moves, and people had a problem with it. I'll never forget. I was watching ESPN Sports Center when Sports Center was Sports Center. And they were talking about Cam Newton and the dancing, and people were having a problem with it. And in the same highlight, in the same segment, Travis Kelce scored a touchdown and hit the Quan. I'm talking about it was flawless. I was jealous how flawless that thing was. I'm talking about he hit the Quan. He hit. All kind of gyrations, as the schoolboy lady used to say. All kind of gyrations was going on. Nobody said a word.
flashback to last weekend. ESPN does a segment on Caitlin Clark, Queen of the Clapback.
Mm-hmm.
2 days later, she gets clapped back, and it's a problem.
My granddaddy told me this. The rules weren't made for them. The rules was made for you.
Mm-hmm.
All right? The rules weren't made for them. They were made for you.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that this came off different, I'm starting to see things through the father of a female athlete, a female black athlete that's dominant. Okay? And I listen to some of the things they're saying about my daughter, and I hold my tongue, you know what I'm saying? But my daughter feels it at 10 years old. So imagine those basketball players have been playing this game at a high level since they were 8, 9 years old. Even go back and look at the documentary that they did on the U.S. women's team, and some of the things that was said about them, whether it was racially, questioning their sexuality, the way that they looked, do they look like U.S. women? And you know what that means. Women endure a lot. Black women endure a lot when it comes down to sports and being athletes. So by the time they make it to the collegiate level, man, they've heard it all. They felt it all. Just imagine Dawn Staley. She's been dealing with this man the majority of her life because she was a part of that U.S. women's team. She hear the things that said when she rocks the Randall Cunningham jersey on the sideline, when she rocks, you know what I mean, the jerseys and different things on the sideline, how she doesn't look like a coach and some of these other things that are coded. So I think when we know the code language, when we start talking about men, we know that is there. I'm telling y'all, fellas, from a guy that's at the Diamond every weekend, it's worse with a little girl. It's worse with a little girl.
That's facts. Because that, like you say, they get it from multiple angles.
I guess we'll go to the sexism in sports since you said that. Another thing we've heard, especially it was very enlightened with, you know, saying Angel Reese, but I don't even want to just stick with not even just Angel Reese. You talked about, you know, with the black women, with women's basketball, period. They're too physical, they're too emotional, it's unladylike.
Yeah.
But as somebody said, or I think Krim said it earlier. Angel Reese did the, you know, saying she's, you know, saying end of the game, she pointed to, you know, ring me. Joe Burrow did it in 2019.
Yeah.
And Donna did it in the Super Bowl.
Let me tell y'all a quick little story. 2019, LSU played Vanderbilt in Nashville. I was at the game, took my son, and there was a moment. Joe Burrow, I don't know if he got hit, a little late hit or whatever. He walked over to the Vanderbilt sideline. It was a D lineman, had his back, you know, was coming out the field. Joe Burrow grabbed the back of his jersey, leaned over his ear a little bit, and then all of Vanderbilt sideline erupted. And the old lineman went over there, like, you know, like, hey, whoa, just calm down. Story came out later. They asked Joe, you know, jokingly, hey, what'd you say? He said, oh, I just told him good game, you know, jokingly. Story later came out. He told him, whispered in his ear, I'm about to hang 500 on y'all ass. And you can see in that game, he threw another touchdown pass, and he looked at Vandy's sideline, and he said, for those of you listening to the audio, he threw up a 5-0-0.
Yep.
Nobody said a word. It was perfectly fine.
Baker Mayfield grabbed the jump whenever they was beating
Yeah,
Texas.
when they played Kansas.
Kansas, my bad, yeah, Kansas, yeah.
Baker Mayfield grabbed the flag, ran
all
around
in the middle of Ohio
State, ran all the way around the stadium with that flag and planted it in the middle.
Joe Burrow also turned and gave a pageant wave to the Texas fans after that game when we beat them. So I mean,
Keith Olbermann didn't call him classist, he didn't say he was a effing idiot.
Yeah, it's deeper than that. I mean, Tom Brady throws those little surface tablets on the sideline, and he's a fierce competitor. Serena Williams throws a racket and she can't control her anger. You know, she's just an angry black woman. So I mean, it's all over the place, bro. I mean, if you can even go back from whenever, you know, everybody's seen the clip when young Venus is getting interviewed and the reporter's asking her, you know, why are you so confident? Why do you feel like this? You know what I'm saying? Basically trying to kill her dreams. I mean, they'll never ask a young gymnast or young figure skater those type of questions. You know what I mean? So it's the sexism, the racism. I mean, it goes.
He ain't got to go that far.
It goes deep, bro.
2 weeks ago, Pat Beverly scored on LeBron and did the "You Too Small." Austin Reeves came back the next time they played, the next game, scored on Pat Beverly and did "You're Too Small." Nobody
one
said
was
that
savage.
Was
one was savage. One was a troll.
Yeah, nobody said, but nobody said they was classless. Nobody said they were effing idiots.
Yeah.
Nobody said that you was a piece of S. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, and you know what? Sport. I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you brought that one up right there. Right? I'm glad you brought up the Dave Portnoy and the Oberman, whatever dude name is. Listen, I'm of the opinion, and this can be my opinion, right? I'm of the opinion that a lot of these guys with that opinion not only wouldn't have the gumption to say that in front of their father, brothers, uncles, you know, people who care about them, but they wouldn't say that in front of these young women.
Thanks.
They wouldn't say this. They wouldn't say that in front. Dave Portnoy, and for everything he's doing over there at Barstool, with Barstool, brand new acquisition. They just got done selling the company. He wouldn't dare say this in front of Angel Reese. Not to say that Angel Reese will put hands on him or nothing like that.
Right.
But the whirlwind of a verbal response that Angel Reese would have given him would have made him second guess saying something like this ever again. And then I think it's even more just disrespectful when you start doubling down. You know, you outright, straight up wrong, but you double down on it. And then you make it seem like, well, there's no way that y'all think that what Caitlin Clark did and what Angel Reese did were the same thing. Mm-hmm. Man, I don't care nothing about none of that. I don't care if you think they are the same or not. You're not in a position, nor would you be in a position to be willing to even try and say something like that to somebody's face.
Yeah.
And go ahead, B.
The possibility that there's a slight chance, there's just a chance of you getting your ass kicked, will stop people from saying a lot.
But that possibility, that slight chance of possibility don't exist whenever you typing it on Twitter. So they feel emboldened to say that on that platform. But like Josh said, none of them will say that to these people's faces.
He was very humble.
You don't feel that there's anything that's gonna come from. See, you're not having to live in reality. See, this is why I support brothers like Dave Chappelle say that Twitter ain't a real place, social media ain't a real place. Because you can type something, and for those of you guys who don't know, it's some people who listen and it's some people who utilize social media like that, where you almost in your own world. You don't think that there's a whole nother world out there. So you would just type something and you think that like everything else in the world don't exist.
I'm sorry, laughing at Simple. He said that's why my wife ran her damn mouth.
Listen, I got a wife. I got a wife and a mama. Y'all heard me. I'm gonna have to pay for like telling them ladies that y'all I'm on the show. Like I'm gonna have to pay for that. Mm-hmm. Could you imagine if I tweeted that?
Yeah.
Hey,
the firestorm that would create inside of my home. With women who downright love me to death. These are dudes who
terrible.
Can I just take one? Okay, these are dudes that when they walked around the cafeteria in high school, these was dudes that had to walk on the outside of the little table. Mm. They couldn't even stand in the line. Okay, these is dudes that when it was time to pick lockers, they all, you know what I'm saying? I'm just, and it's not that I'm trying to point that out as if it's, But it's just the nerve and the audacity that you would even call somebody's child, let alone a human being, a piece of shit.
Hurt people,
An infant idiot.
Yep.
Like, you say that, and you say it like you don't believe that there's a equal or more justifiable response that is supposed to come to you. You don't believe it. Ain't nobody even supposed to say nothing to you. Man, I don't know. I need to set up a teleconference with Angel Reese, daddy, and his uncles and all. Listen, man, y'all gonna let them say that about you, man. You know what I'm saying? At least
but to your point though, Josh, to your point though, he feel like he won't get no response back because your social media isn't a real place. But the place that is social media, he feels like he's been elevated to some level of status that gives him the privilege to speak to people this type of way, and they can't
say whatever you want.
Shut up, and they can't do nothing but shut up and take it. You know what I mean? It ain't just him.
You do realize he had that same energy from Shaq.
It's a lot of people out there.
There's a lot of people who feel like they got to the point because they have enough followers or they have enough whatever to where I can say whatever I want, and y'all had to just shut up and take it. And if y'all do try to come back at me with something, I'm just gonna use my machine that of followers and stuff that I have to drown you out and only push my narrative and only push what I want to say.
You do realize that because somebody pointed out the bots that were after Ranger Reese. It was like if you took a search statement and put search, there was like 20 different people with the same thing. Of course,
the same tweet.
Same tweet. Exactly.
But Monty Jones was talking about that. Yeah.
But this is something that we also can ignore, and that's the psychology when we start talking about race in sports. We, as a society, when I say we as a society, not us, but as a society, you ever notice how we describe black athletes and white athletes? It doesn't matter who it is. Oh man, and when we talk about a white athlete, man, he worked so hard and he got himself to this point and blah blah blah. And when you're black, it's like you should be grateful for the opportunity. You're blessed to be here. Someone gave you an opportunity. You didn't work your way. No, someone gave you something. And it's the minute that you don't show your gratitude to the people that gave you whatever, man, I'm telling you, it's a hailstorm. And like I said, we have countless of examples through almost 100 years of this. And it's this mentality that it like I said, Caitlin had no problem with it because she's a baller, and that's what ballers do. But it's the fact that I dare you do this to this little white girl. That struck a nerve because let me tell you something. If there was LSU and South Carolina playing, none of that wouldn't have been the issue. It would have just been ball.
If the Rose would have been reversed, you wouldn't have heard nothing.
Right, if the Rose would have, but you didn't
hear nothing. You didn't hear nothing when they played South Carolina. She was doing it.
But you dare do this. You dare do this to this little white girl.
So I'm you know
what,
what,
little white girl.
Here's another thing that people said because they said, it makes no sense that Angel Reese, you know, what I'm saying they did that to South Carolina. She didn't do that to your team. Somebody do know. A lot of times people don't like bullies. I got my oldest and my youngest are close. Freaking frack. Love each other to death. But when they go outside and play, they may play a little soccer and stuff. And my oldest son, he's in high school. He may score a goal or kick on my little one. He'll start taunting them a little bit, messing with him. My little, you know what I'm saying? Because my little one can't necessarily respond back. He might not say nothing. But you know, if I go and play him, my oldest, and you know what I'm saying, I score, you know what I'm saying, I may talk it back to him or say something back to him to take up. And it's not necessarily, and let me say this, my oldest is not bullying my youngest. Not, you know what I'm saying, it's not necessarily bullying, but I know he can't necessarily take up, or he's not in the opportunity to speak up at this time. So I may say something, or I may get him back. That's just how it works. That's how sports go. A lot of times, if you talk that talk,
somebody else gonna knock you off.
Somebody gonna knock you off, and they gonna talk that talk back at you.
North Carolina Central Celebration Bowl. That's all the boys talked about.
That's it right there.
Jackson State didn't bully them. Jackson State had bullied other folk.
Mm-hmm.
And they had and during that week they kind of gave North Carolina Central that same energy. South Carolina State said the same thing. You ain't necessarily bullying me yet, but you're
No.
giving me that energy like you think we finna go for it.
Yeah.
Right.
And
And Central took the
we gonna
mentality.
go get you.
Central took the mentality of in that game. Central took the mentality of that game of dog. That might be what you do where you from, but dog, whether you know it or not, you in our backyard.
Yeah.
You don't even play like you gonna bully nobody over here. As a matter of fact, we gonna bully you.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you another thing that come up.
We gonna bully you. Since you think you a bully, we gonna let you see what it feel like to get bullied.
You know what? You know what? Another thing people don't realize.
Mm-hmm.
People a lot of times when you do stuff like that, and you talk, they be like, "You got to show more respect for the game." So I'm gonna teach you a lesson, and I'm gonna talk to you to get because you got to show. Because the first thing LSU said, you know, what I'm saying, we felt disrespected.
Yeah. Because the game felt it felt like they was disrespecting the game. Don't get me wrong, that Caitlin, you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, she good.
Yeah,
She
she cold.
She
a baller, bro. She cold.
She a baller. But man, listen, dog. If you walk in any gym today, regardless to whether you've seen Caitlin play or not, and you walk in any gym in America today, and you gotta pick between Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, and you ain't seen no film now, you don't know. She might give you 40 if you don't pick her, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you got to pick just purely off face value. Raise your hand, you gonna off face value pick Angel Reese.
Just by everybody here.
Oh yeah, Angel Reese, yeah.
So, dog, I think it's not even hypocritical. It's so much about what my brother BJ is saying about how sports are a microcosm of society. The same thing that happens in this example is the same thing that happens to the black kid or the black man or woman who ends up getting an opportunity in a Fortune 500 company, and they are expected to act like you should just be glad to be here. It ain't but 6 of y'all in the CEO position in all these Fortune 500 companies anyway, so be glad that you even here.
Yeah.
I'm qualified for the opportunity. I got the education for the opportunity. I got the experience.
We gave you this opportunity.
Right.
Yeah, I'm quite frankly smarter than everybody else in the room, but I'm supposed to just operate like we just happy to be here.
When you talk about respecting the game, I think because I've seen a lot of people saying, you know, why LSU girls talking about South Carolina girls and trying to, you know, win for them and stick up for them and stick together and stuff like that. And they automatically went to race. Automatically.
Yeah.
But I don't think it necessarily is just race. I think it's what y'all was saying about respecting the game. Because it's one thing for you, Caitlin Clark, to play defense on me and you know what I mean, and leave me open to shoot. It's totally another thing for you to wave me off like I'm not even worried about her. And that was called savage. And look how savage she is for what she did to her. They was applauding that. That's disrespecting the game. You don't do that to your opponent. You don't do that to the game.
Also, you want to look at the fact.
That's why whenever the other team, your next opponent sees that, they're gonna pick up the slack for your last opponent, and they're gonna give you everything you should have got and some. Karma.
And Central definitely did that with Jackson State, by the way. We saw how disrespectful they were versus Southern in that SWAC championship game. I sat down with my mama and watched that game, and we sat down and wrote notes about how disrespectful we thought it was. You run the same play 3 series in a row because you don't think that they can stop it.
Now, what you was
That's
say? No,
disrespectful to the game. Like Southern ain't had a squad to be able to take advantage of that. And you look at that second half, the last part of the second, because I don't want to get into football, because I know we talking basketball, but I'm just saying, y'all, it is a bit of what Ann is talking about it being disrespectful to the game. And these young ladies have taken up the mantle to say, we are trying to take the game to this place.
Yeah.
They calling it too aggressive. No, that's how we want the game to get the same type of respect that the men's game get. The men play aggressive. They slap on the floor. They play defense in your face. They can hit threes from 20. They do this. They call everybody little. They do the little rockabye baby. We need to be doing it too. Look how many millions of people watch the game.
Most ever.
With the you can't see me in the ring tap. We done already seen this game with the handshake. Great job. Great game, young ladies. We'll see you guys next year. And setting a bunch of pick and rolls and find a way to the spot on the elbow. We've seen that already. We have not seen this game like we see it right now. And that's being spearheaded by players like Angel Reese. It's being spearheaded by coaches like Don Staley. It's being spearheaded by Jackson State's coach. It's being spearheaded by that Jackson State women's basketball team, Norfolk State's women's basketball team. It's being spearheaded. This is a new version of this game that people either gonna get with it or they're gonna get lost or you're gonna get ran over.
Yeah. That's true.
So yeah, it is a bit of piece about race, but it is also a bit of piece about
I think it's both.
This is what these young ladies they saying this is where we want the game to go.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. No, you was about to say something.
No, Josh, you good, bro. I was just saying like the part with like Caitlin Clark, like that's the part that a lot of people are missing. And I think we kind of hit on it. This ain't even about Caitlin Clark, but the narrative that was being pushed was like, you gotta tune in to see this girl from Iowa play against LSU. And then like you got what was it, 6.3 million people that watched the game.
9.9 million.
Thank you. All of them everybody that tuned in, 70% of them didn't even watch women's basketball. All I heard all weekend was, let me tune in and see this Caitlin Clark girl. Let me see this Caitlin Clark girl. You don't know nothing about Angel Reese.
Yeah. Let me see this white girl drop 40 on this group of black girls.
Let me tell you what I heard.
And I just had to say it.
Larry Bird daughter.
Yeah, Larry Bird. Let me tell you what.
Boy, I heard that too.
This pissed me off. A guy on Twitter said that the reason why LSU was doing that and Angel Reese was doing that is because they hate Caitlin Clark because she scores points and she's white.
No,
bro. I wouldn't do it.
Hey, okay. Why we going there? Okay, why we going there? I saw one that said Caitlin Clark is going to go on to use her degree while Angel Reese will be working somewhere making $18 an hour.
I did see that one too. Yeah. So it was so ridiculous. They hate her because she's white. Nobody hates Caitlin Clark. If anything, when I saw Caitlin Clark, because that was the first time I saw her play against South Carolina. That was the first time I had heard her name. That was the first time I actually sat and watched her play. And I was like, dang, she good. She good. And I was like, okay, this is gonna be a tough one. You know what I'm saying? For LSU to match up, it's gonna be a tough one. But I never said that I hope they beat her because she's white.
No.
Never. It was never.
Man, look, man. And like I said, this wasn't about Caitlin Clark. It was people inserting their beliefs and their feelings into it, and that's the way that they felt. If you listen to Caitlin Clark said, "Man, I got no problem with none of that." You know what I'm saying? We ball this way. You know what I'm saying? And Caitlin Clark has talked to Angel Reese, so you know what I'm saying. They've talked. They good.
I'm glad. See,
this is about in this society the way that certain people act when Jack Johnson knocked out the white dude. Oh my God! Dare you hit him like that? You hit him like that? It's boxing. But it's the same playbook America's been using for over 100 years. I dare you do that little white girl like that. I mean, she was a baller now, but now she's a little helpless white girl.
Yeah. Why were people so adamant on trying to protect her? And she was cool. She was like, "Hey." You know what I'm saying?
Her face never changed one time with the antics.
She just want to play ball, man. She loved the game and got a tremendous amount of respect for the game. You know, there are some spots where she needed to learn a little bit more respect. You know, about respect. But let's keep it real, dog. You know how many times as a wide receiver, I went against a DB and told the DB, ain't nothing you gonna be able to do to stop me, dude. Like, back up a little bit. I'm telling you now, like. I heard stories about when Shannon Sharp was playing at Savannah State, he would tell dudes the route he was going to run and tell them to stand inside a little closer to the inside so it could look good because there's NFL scouts in the stands.
Man, fellas, there's a reason
Come on,
when
man.
Jackie Robinson integrated and some of those first players got there that they told them, because if you look at could watch any documentary about the Negro Leagues, the way that they played in the Negro Leagues was different than they played in the Major League. In the
Mm-hmm.
Negro Leagues, they showed emotion. It was
Mm-hmm.
trash talking. It was all of this, but they could not do that when they got to the Major Leagues, and
Yeah.
they were taught, no, you can't do, really can't show emotion. And it was played for San Francisco. Can't think of his name. From
Willie
Fairfield.
Mays.
Can't think of his name. Willie Mays. Willie Mays said in his documentary, man, they told us, man, the first time that Willie Mays got a hit off of a white pitcher in the major league, and he showed a little bit of emotion, the death threats he got. I dare you show up this white man. Like, and that was one of the reasons why they told Willie Mays and those guys don't show no emotion, because America wasn't ready to see,
Yeah.
a black player show up a white player. And I'm sorry,
Yeah.
they still ain't.
Yeah.
Still ain't ready.
Hey,
Still ain't.
And that's one reason why baseball still has those unwritten rules, though. You know what I mean? To where if you try to show too much emotion, we throwing at you. But to your point, though, that's one reason why they picked Jackie Robinson, was because of his demeanor, and because he never really showed a bunch of emotion. He would fit in, and he would be more assimilative.
Much more docile.
Yeah, he would, and he would assimilate better to what was the major league way and not the Negro League way.
Could you have imagined if Satchel Paige was the person who
or Josh Gibson?
Or Josh Gibson was the person that broke it? Could you imagine what we would be? It's like, this is where you look at society and you say, you can almost pinpoint how strategic these people are, because it goes to that emotion of, like, we've got to be so strategic that the person that we let in, it's got to be for a specific reason.
You going? What's that? What you said earlier? Sports is a microcosm of society. So they picked Jackie Robinson for a reason. They picked Martin Luther King for a reason. They picked all these people for a reason.
They picked Michael Jordan for. No, I'm not going. I ain't going there.
They pick all of these people for a reason.
They picked Dion for. Hey, so
Here you go. Hold up.
Hey,
where the collections play, boo? Where the collections?
Hey, so I do want to say, hey, for those of
before you, they didn't pick Dion. God picked Dion. Go ahead.
Okay, there you go.
Or leave it up to the name.
And Trent
Lord
Dilfer too. And
Lord,
them retired football players got a different God than us.
Yeah, they do. Ed Reed do. Anyway, for all our white brothers and sisters that are watching right now, if you to give y'all understanding, because a lot of y'all have always seen sports and seen kind of the back and forth banner and stuff, to give you an understanding of how no matter what the competition is, there's gonna be trash talk. If you ever get a chance to see black people play spades,
Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy.
And you will be amazed. And it's there's gonna be times it's kind of terrifying, and there's gonna be times it's gonna be hysterical. I'll tell you a quick story. I'll tell you a quick story.
It's beautiful.
It don't matter.
It's beautiful, man.
I'm gonna tell y'all a quick story that I want to move on to this last topic. I was in annual training, military, and we were playing spades in the barracks. And so it's a white guy came along and he was like, hey, you know what I'm saying, tell me about spades and stuff. I was like, okay, you know. We showing them how to play and stuff and telling them the rules. Hey, no more rule, don't renege. So okay. And we tell him this is what we mean by renege. Don't, you know what I'm saying, if you play anything outside of a spade, you know what I'm saying, I mean, if you got any card outside of a spade, you have to play that suit. If you play any suit, you know what I'm saying, if you play a spade and you got that suit, that's called reneging. He was like, oh, okay. Don't do that. That'll cost you the game, 3 books, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay.
Might cost you your life. Might cost you your life.
Josh, you foreshadowing. Let me tell you. So they're playing, right? They're playing. And this guy's joking around, and they already kind of losing. They losing, you know. Other team talking trash to him, and dude, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? the white guys talking back, joking. And we're gonna call him Smith. Smith talking back. Smith is partnered with Johnson. Johnson's serious spades player. But he took Smith under his wing. He said, because I can do this. I can do this by myself. Johnson gets on a roll. They start picking up books. Next thing you know, somebody look and say, hey, Smith, I thought you didn't have a heart. Smith said, just playing. We had to hold Johnson back. He was about to choke Smith. I'm talking about, he did not realize the threat on his life. We literally had to escort him out of there back to his barracks. It's like, bro, you can't do that. It was like, this sick. Johnson was mad for 3 days.
That's a cultural thing right there, bro.
That's culture.
Yeah.
It's written in the book. It's written in the rule books. And I know they might say that spades wasn't created by black people, but I'm almost willing to say spades had to be created by black people.
I don't know who was created.
And you go to a black family reunion down south, and the older fellas are playing horseshoes. And you think that he thinks spades game is intense.
Hey, I know some people who done got shot over a horseshoe game before.
Ooh.
I'm just saying it gets serious. But that's just like dominoes, bro. And my family is dominoes. Anytime there's anytime there's more than 2 males together in the family, it's a dominoes game going on. And my wife has been terrified. She has had to leave functions. It get real whenever them bones come out. And you would think that just like when the 2 young ladies trash talking each other or whoever trash talking each other, while the game is going on, it ain't nothing but at your head. But as soon as this game over, I love you, brother. You know what I'm saying? It's our love family. That's how it's competition, and that's how it should be. And if it's okay for men to do it, it's okay for women to do it.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
All right. This last topic, fellas. I want to talk about this. I want to ask this question to you. Is there really politics in sports?
We wait to the end to have this conversation.
Always have been.
Always forever. Always and forever.
And I hear what you're saying. So let's look at the activism through the years and some of the politics that are in sports. You had we'll start recently. We had LeBron with the LeBron's non-action and Cantor speaking out about the Chinese human rights issues. We can look at Kaepernick kneeling, saying due to police brutality. We can look at Mahmoud Abdul Rauf with the not wanting to do the, saying he said I'll stand for the saying when y'all play national, but I'm gonna pray, saying as a Muslim man, I will pray. You look at Craig Hodge wearing a dashiki to the White House, and basically calling out the president then, or we can look at Lou Alcindor, aka Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and his activism, or we can look at Muhammad Ali not wanting to go fight in Vietnam because he said the Viet Cong has done nothing to me. We look at all these things and people talk about some politics and sports. Thank you, Jim Brown.
Oh yeah,
Paul Robeson.
Paul Robeson,
who was the original Kaepernick.
Yeah. And people talk about that, and they always talk about politics and sport. And I asked I posed this question to Ant the other day. Is it really politics?
You got Tommy Smith and
oh yeah, I'm sorry.
John Carlos.
Yeah. Is it really politics or people speaking out about civil rights and human rights?
Well, I think anytime you mention rights and the freedoms that can neither be juxtaposed against or otherwise,
that's political.
Then you're talking politics.
Yeah. It's called politics.
It is called politics. If you're talking civil rights is a political action concept. It's a process that is used to be able to provide equality for marginalized groups. Civil rights.
The
It's
Civil
something
Rights
that was
Act,
supposed to.
the Civil Rights Act of 1965 was politics.
Absolutely.
And I
So
mean,
any activism that is enacted for policy or politics or theology or theory or ideology is in fact politics. But I think an even better question on top of that too, Brother Pooh, is should activism be in the vein of politics? Is it a natural component of politics? And is it necessary? Is it all of these instances and these examples that you gave, were they all necessary to push forward the political ideology that was inebriated at the time? Was it necessary for Jim Brown to be as active as he was at the time to push forward the political narrative of civil rights? Was it necessary for Lew Alcindor, also known as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, to enact through activism to be able to push forward the political ideology that existed at the time? Was it necessary for Colin Kaepernick to take the political activism concept that he took to push forward the policy that was inebriated at the time? And if the answer is yes, and this could be the Charlotte, North Carolina coming out of my 80-year-old grandfather, right? He says that in order for policy and politics to even be started, I'm talking about just to be kick-started, the main ingredient for politics is activism.
Bingo.
That the United States of America and its idea doesn't happen unless there is activism. In order for us to be able to have a means to an end through policy, which what we want is to be able to have policy. Colin Kaepernick may not have been doing it for the concept, may not have had the idea of what the policy should look like, but he enacted activism
for the
which
policy,
automatically made it politics. It makes it politics anytime you enact activism for a political ideology, whether you know you're doing it for that political ideology or not.
Yeah. So Danny Girl chimes in. She said there's a difference between players and athletes using their platform for activism and when politicians use athletes for political gain. And I think she's talking about because Miss Renee Lee says it when the first lady said that she was going to tell Joe to invite Iowa too. The first thing she thought about was the Iowa caucus.
Okay, we'll see. I feel okay. But what you have is there is a difference, but they're both on the same spectrum.
Absolutely.
They're both on the politics and sports spectrum. One you have is activism by players who are just speaking for what they passionately feel on issues that they feel passionately about. The other one is you have politicals who see athletes as what we talked about earlier. Athletes, certain athletes are the ones who get invited in the rooms that other people aren't invited to. And they're the ones who are put on this pedestal. So let's use them and their pedestal and their celebrity to our benefit. Either way it goes, there's still politics in sports.
Yeah.
Now, some might be more, digestible than others, depending on who you are. But either way it goes, it's still politics in sports.
Man, throughout the history of this country, the only time that there's a problem with politics, and sports, is when those politics don't align with yours. Let me give you an example. Y'all remember when Whitney Houston sang the national anthem for the Super Bowl? I think it was 1991. Do you know who sang the national anthem before that? Nobody knows. You know why? Because the national anthem and NFL games were really only sung during times of war, right? They got recently brought back right around 9/11. All right, so that was a strategic thing. It was done for television for big games, Super Bowl. But outside of it, it wasn't a thing. Those same people who don't like politics and sports, anytime Trump showed up at a ball game, they matter a national championship game, basketball, you name it, they were all about them politics. All right. So when people say politics and sports, even that's a little bit cold words. It's a little bit of keep the Negroes in their place, keep them running and jumping. I don't want to have to think about how I feel about you outside of the uniform. Just do what I need you to do. It's almost like going to see the animals at the circus. I just want you to entertain me. I don't want to think about your humanism. I don't want to think about the things that you do, because when you do that, it brings back it makes me
That's
look at
excitement.
the hypocrisy that I have to now look at in myself.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
That's good.
those same people who you have people who will go to a football game and will cheer on, a field full of black athletes and will log on to a website and won't have anything nice to say about black people.
At
Period.
all.
That's
Yeah.
the hypocrisy in sports. So I think that when you have that and people mentally know what's going on, they don't want any reminders. That's why people say sports is an escape. And I always say, for who? Because for black people, that's literally how we get our platform to speak
Mm-hmm.
on things. You ain't coming to speak. You ain't coming to listen to what we have to say about anything else. So when I
Mm-hmm.
get to a certain point, I have to use this platform, to be able to relate to you, because it ain't like you going to the hood or anyone else,
Right.
kind of see what else we have to say. So I think when people say that, they say that sports is an escape, but also, man, sports is also it's an olive branch and it's an opportunity to learn if some people would listen.
Yeah.
Mm.
And oftentimes when we talk about race, people like to frame it as an uncomfortable conversation, and I will always say it's uncomfortable to who?
Yeah.
Because it ain't uncomfortable with me. All
Mm.
right. When,
Facts.
by the time you black in this country, by the time you're 9, 10 years old, you've been uncomfortable a long time. Just trying to just gather, just being black in this country.
Yeah.
But particularly in certain spaces, I remember I said 9 or 10. All right. So imagine how it is by the time you get in your 30s.
I remember, and I'm pretty sure all of us can. I remember my first interaction with where I had race played a part, or where I learned what racism was.
Yeah.
So,
To your point about the politics thing though, like the Kaepernick situation, I remember there as soon as he started kneeling there was to keep politics out of sports and all of this. But what people failed to realize was the only reason Kaepernick had an opportunity to kneel was because the NFL had a contract with the Department of Defense. You can't get no more political than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
That was
literally
always my issue.
interwoven into
So,
the
so
sport.
you're mad at Kaepernick for making it political whenever his employer was the one who made it political so they can get $1. So you're mad at the wrong person. If you want to keep politics out of sports, tell these leagues and all of these people to stop trying to get $1 and doing whatever they gotta do to get $1, and whether that be with the Department of Defense or with whatever political part, NRA or whoever political, lobby organization that y'all want to use, because all of that is still political. So if you want politics out of sports, you basically saying keep money out of sports, because wherever money is, politics is.
Mm.
All you gotta do is go back with some of these big platforms, and Pooh know this, and I've been talking about it for 2 years with him. Like these people hide behind these big platforms, because I can remember several platforms, 4 or 5, even go back longer than that, years ago, saying that 100% keep politics out of sport, keep politics out of sport, because like we've already said, it aligned exactly with what they were saying.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as it was something different, then you start referencing half of your tweet is about sports and half your tweet is about something politics. How did that even go together?
well, when you sign contracts with certain groups of people,
Networks.
certain networks,
Uh-oh.
and company,
Uh-oh.
you
have
want
to-
you switch up.
And
You're
people.
different. And see, that's another thing, though. This is another thing. Whenever, especially when we get to this media and politics, whenever their fan base and their listeners are a certain demographic, we're gonna have this topic, and this topic. But then all of a sudden, when we grow and we start having a different fan base, we ain't gonna talk about this no more. We're gonna talk about this over here now. We ain't gonna talk about how this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. We need equality and all this. We're gonna talk about let's keep politics out of sports. What changed in 2 years? Your fan base.
Your audience.
Yeah.
Your audience.
What and my favorite saying.
I can criticize the things I love, and I can love the things I criticize.
I have no problem as our good friend. He been commenting all night. Simple. As a military man, when we fought or we joined, we knew what we was fighting for. We knew that everybody wasn't going to agree with us. We know what patriotism is. The problem is a lot of people are confusing patriotism and nationalism. We can have conversations, and I could talk about why I'm disgruntled as a black man in America. That don't mean I don't love America. That don't mean I'm not. That don't mean I'm not. I'm trying to think of the best way to put this. That don't mean I'm not. I'm ready to jump on a boat and head back the way you came from. First of all, as the prophet Angela Rye always say, we built this joint for free. I'm not going anywhere. I put blood, sweat, and tears on this soil, so y'all can say whatever y'all want to say.
From I was born right up the road at a hospital, so I mean, I am one. I mean, I'm at where I came from. You know what I mean? Like,
it's just I hate that anytime someone says something that you feel is against the nation of the United States, you feel as though they need to go back where they came from. If that was the mentality that was taken, the Boston Tea Party should have been the first time that they went back where they came from.
I mean, I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna jump out here and I'm gonna just throw it all out there. I am a grandbaby of the civil rights movement, right? So my grandmother and her siblings marched on side of Dr. King and Fred Shuttlesworth, and so many other different names. John Lewis was like an uncle to me because my family is from a little small town called Union Springs, Alabama, in Bullock County, and Troy is right there. So my aunt Laudelle Farley was one of the first black students at Troy University, now Troy University, but it was Troy State College back in the day. She was one of the first black students. She befriended this guy named John Lewis, who was a part of our family until he died back in 2020. My grandfather is from a small town called Shorter, Alabama. All right, it's in Macon County.
Heard of it.
Also in Macon County is Tuskegee. All right, so my grandfather served in the military. One of his best friends, Mr. Emery, was one of the Tuskegee Airmen, one of the original ones. One thing that my grandfather always taught me was that we can criticize this country because we love it so much. Some of us love America because of, because we've been taught, but some of us love America in spite of. My grandfather served in World War II. And it went until 1994 when Bill Clinton was the president that those gentlemen got all the things that was promised to them way back then. And it took the act of Congress, literally, for them to get the things that was promised to them way back then. My grandfather died in 1990.
Wow.
So he never saw it. He never saw it. The GI Bill and some of those other things that those men were promised. My grandfather went and fought a war, all right, for freedom abroad that he never knew here. My grandfather died in 1990. My dear granddad said he remembered the first time that a white man called him Mr. Fanning. My grandfather, that was in the 1980s. He died in 90. Even ones younger than him would call him boy. But even through all of that, civil rights movement, I got an aunt. Somebody asked me, man, why wore 22? My daughter wears 22. I got an aunt that got 22 stitches right across the eyebrow from Bloody Sunday. Like I said, man, some of us love America in spite of. And when we say these things, it ain't because we hate America. It's because we love it. And like I said, this country, my ancestors' blood, deep all in the soil. Like I said, man, they work for free. Raped, pillaged, murdered, lynched, you name it. Man, we ain't going nowhere. And it's because of them that we keep going and we strive for better. We want for better. We remember the past, but we always strive to be better. And like I said, man, people come with that nonsense, that that leave it nonsense. No. What we're gonna do is we're gonna learn from the past, and we're gonna be better by it. And you're gonna understand my struggle, and I'm gonna try to understand yours. Because at the end of the day, man, we all Americans, and it's the differences between us, those different struggles, those different paths that are interwoven into the fabric of what this nation is. So, man, you just got to understand that. Like, if you don't remember nothing else, some of us love America because of, and that because of, that's why you're seeing a lot of pushback. People talking about critical race theory because a lot of people are taught that America is dope. That's the history they learn. They learn history under the guise that America is dope. But some of us, man, our history books are still with us. Man, my aunt and my grandmother's sisters and stuff, they still living.
They still living, dog.
Yeah. Like, I ain't had to go to no book. I go to ask them, hey, man, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? What happened, back this? We talk. You know what I'm saying? We just talk about Herman Boone. We talk to him directly.
Facts.
So, so like I said, some of us love America, and we know that the history is dirty, it's nasty, it's filthy, but they don't mean that that's what it is. We can also, God said that as long as, man, there's breath in our lungs, we can strive to be better, and that's what we about doing, and that's why I don't mind having this conversation with anybody.
Right.
And that's why. But to your point, that's why we criticize. That's why. That's why we criticize. That's why we speak up. That's why we do become activists, because we love it and because we want it to be better. If we didn't love it and we didn't care, we'll let it go to hell. And and just like I tell my kids, I criticize you, I correct you, and because I do love you. If I didn't care about you, I'll let you do whatever you want out here. I wouldn't care how you turned out. But because I care about you, because I love you, I try to correct you whenever you're wrong and whenever you're out of place. Just like this country. I love the country. That's why I try to correct it whenever it's out of place. If I didn't love it, I wouldn't care how it turned out.
Yeah.
And it is imperative. It is imperative. It is necessary. My grandfather talked about his professor, Colonel Jones, saying, you do things that are apart, but you do things that are necessary. And in order for there to be a continued political process, whether it be inebriated through sports or through conversations like this, where brothers are just having conversations from a political concept and a political foundative concept, it is necessary that we criticize. Criticism is necessary.
Accountability.
It is a part of the entire process. And if anybody believes that they are above reproach or above criticism, then you have come to the place where you believe that you are above growth and opportunity. And isn't that what we've said? Isn't that what we said this country was going to be for those who came after us? Ain't that what great grandmama said? Ain't that what big mama and big daddy said? That this place was going to be a place of opportunity for us. Not the framers saying that. I'm talking about big mama said that. I'm talking about great great grandmama said, great great granddaddy said, we are going to go through this so that we present the opportunity for the children that we don't see come. And that it's necessary for criticism in order for us to be able to make the words that great grandmama put out here into the world be actual and factual and true. Yeah. And so we have to be critical. We have to be critical. Because I'll be doggone if my children and my family and those that's coming after me have to live in the world and go through the things that big mama went through, that my daddy and mama went through, that I went through. It's necessary. Criticism is necessary. And that's I land my policy and political plane right there, dog.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, fellas, it's so much more. It's so much more. Hold on. I'm gonna get everybody. It's so much more that I want to say, or that we want to say. So much more of this conversation that we want to have. But you know what I'm saying? We got families. Josh got to go get his whooping.
Gotta go face this. Ain't no run.
Can't run from that one, huh?
Yeah, Whitey sitting right there. Bum was in here.
I see it now. I see the shadow of hands.
I don't know if y'all heard my mama in the background, but we doing all this Easter planning, for nieces and nephews and getting ready to put candy inside the little eggs. But they got all the lights on in the house.
Oh boy, you messing up holidays? You better get it.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah, pray for me. BJ, I'm calling you for reinforcement.
BJ, don't go. Don't do it, BJ.
B did the slow head. B did the slow head dice.
All right. Hey, before we get out of here, man, I'm gonna let y'all, you know what I'm saying, do your pardon, you know what I'm saying, pardon words, last calls, or however you want to call it. BJ and Josh, one of y'all plug the show. Make sure y'all, you know what I'm saying, get the information. I guess we'll go in alphabetical order with BJ. I'll let you go.
Hey man, it's a pleasure, it's a privilege to be on tonight with you guys, man. If anything, man, like I said, man, if you listen to this, particularly for those that don't look like us, man, use it as a learning opportunity. Use it as a learning opportunity. You know, use your ears. You know, try to understand. And I say, hey, you can reach out to me. I don't mind having a conversation with anybody. But it's situation and there's points in our country and space points in history where we have an opportunity to do better. And a lot of times we haven't taken that opportunity. It's been business as usual. So, you know, one of the biggest things is, man, is that hopefully that people will learn from what happened on last weekend and kind of ask themselves some serious questions, be honest with themselves. And if you are upset and you are mad, and get to the root cause of why. And if that why is something that you're uncomfortable with, they don't make you a bad person. The first thing that you have to do to change is acknowledge that there's a problem in the first place. And I think oftentimes in our country, a lot of people don't want to acknowledge things. That's why you see politics in the manner that you see it, with people trying to wipe stuff out of the history books because it don't make people feel warm and fuzzy. Well, you know, history ain't warm and fuzzy, but one thing about history, if you don't understand it, if you understand it where we came from, you're gonna repeat it. And it's gonna be worse this time coming around. Also, man, check us out. X's and O's. We coming, man. My man Josh, myself, and Erica Rochelle. X's and O's. That's hey.
Listen, man. First off, to my brothers Pooh and Ant, man, and everybody from Golden Boot, man. I really, really, really do appreciate you guys letting us on. Me and B, man, this week, me and BJ literally been on a press run this entire week, man. And as we get closer to X's and O's, it's gonna be very, very imperative that we, you know, continue to keep being a part of conversations like this across the entire diaspora, man. No matter where it is, man. We really, really hope that everybody continues to see us as a shining light in this thing, man, and that at least our perspective from an X's and O's perspective can be able to help others to understand. Here's what I will say in closing up. Life is it presents opportunity. It's not linear. It's much more, you know, kind of ebbs and flows, peaks and valleys. And every opportunity is an opportunity to learn. I will always say that the most successful institution, Black founded institution ever created in this country is the historically Black college and university. But the most impactful institution ever created in this country is the institution of brotherhood and sisterhood. Our ability to come together and have tough conversations, rough conversations, conversations that don't feel so comfortable, conversations that feel very, very comfortable, is an institution. And it is something that's worth protecting. It's something that's worth, you know, continuously having, no matter how uncomfortable it is. And maybe it's just, you know, the optimism that I live with that allows for me to see it that way. But I am absolutely optimistic in the fact that if we continue to have conversations like this in accordance with the activism, that we will see this country grow to a place that may not be recognizable now. There's still some uncomfortable conversations from people that do not look like us that still have to exist and have to happen. Don't run away from those conversations. Don't shed away from those conversations. As a matter of fact, welcome those conversations. Have those conversations. Reach out to me as well. Reach out to BJ. Reach out to Pooh. Reach out to Ant. Reach out to Brother Renardo. Reach out to us, man. We are absolutely willing to have these conversations. But the longer you run from these conversations, the longer you're running from your own solutions. And so X's and O's X's and O's, the network is on its way. We are finalizing those pieces, man. So please stay in tune with us. Continue to check us out right now on HBCU Nightly every Wednesday night, live on Twitter Spaces, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I know there's another one in there as far as Mountain Standard Time, but I don't ever really talk about that because there's a former HBCU coach in the mountains right now. So
I can't even do it. But first of all, man, I really want to thank y'all for having me on here, man. Me and Ant and Pooh, man, we go back from when we were introduced to each other at from a mutual friend, man. And it's been nothing but love ever since between Down South football and Golden Boot, man. I just thank you for thinking of me. Me and we have a lot of great conversations, man. My final word is that, just continue to educate yourself. I like to be detailed and I like facts over emotions, man. So it's easy to get caught up in the emotions of this, but you got to be able to talk. You got to be able to spit the facts and say everything that goes along with it. I also want to give a shout out to BJ and Josh, man, because to me, these two guys are part of pillars of the HBCU community, man, and just football in general. And I follow them. They don't know that. I follow them in everything that they do. And I watch everything they do, man, because I like to learn from people that's very, very knowledgeable about a lot of things. So now that they've been on here, now they got to come on our show. So now I got to get them on our show, man. But we appreciate everything, man. We appreciate everything for y'all too, man. And if nothing else, man, I'm gonna hand it over to Pooh. And man, look, I'm just gonna say stay woke. I'm gonna say that. How about that?
Hey.
All right. And you muted, but you got some?
No, I was just gonna say, hey, that's the perfect way to end it.
Yeah. I do want to say, because we had a lot of our what they call melanemic, our non-black brothers and sisters that when stayed in the list watch tonight. Truly do appreciate y'all having the willingness to listen, to learn. It's never, because I've heard, even when we talked about the Caitlin Clark thing, I'm not going to sit here and act like there aren't some black people who hate white people. I'm not going to act like that's not true. But I will say this: the majority of black people do not have a problem with white people. A lot of times we just want to be left the hell alone. Be straight up factual. We don't mind sharing spaces with y'all. We don't mind having conversations with y'all. We just honestly, for the most part, we just want our opportunity to have our American dream or to build upon and provide for our families. So we, like I said, really do want to say thank y'all for tuning in and showing that willingness, man. Truly appreciate it.
I'm laughing at Simple, bro.
Simple, he's so funny.
He think he's black now, bro.
He said I don't know if you saw it in the show. He was like, man, the more y'all talk, the more I think I'm black. So but nah, man, it's we truly do appreciate everybody for tuning in. BJ, Josh, man, truly appreciate y'all. X's and O's, looking forward to it. Definitely can't wait to see, the breakdowns, the conversations around HBCU football. Renard, as always, man, truly appreciate you for helping guide us, through this, I'm gonna say the podcast game, but through, through just, creating the show, creating media, creating a platform, and helping guide us, and, at SWAT Media Day, hey fellas, you might want to look into doing this. Hey fellas, you might want to do this. You might want to talk to this person. So truly appreciate, you, Down South football. Dave, you don't like us, we don't like you. No, just playing. Dave,
I don't care about what he got to say. He ain't on the show. He don't represent Down South football. That that's the Parker High School in Birmingham, and him. I'm just gonna leave him.
But nah, man, Dave, man, appreciate you. Even not on being Tuck, man. Look forward to seeing y'all.
Nah, you leave DJ Ben Bowden where he at.
I'm between y'all. I ain't got to do with that, man. I have to do a show with them three, so y'all be quiet.
Oh man, they're my peoples, man. But we'll be back, man. We'll be back Monday. We'll be back Monday. We won't do a show on Sunday, of course. You know what I'm saying? For he is risen. So we're gonna let that, you know what I'm saying, do what it do. And hey, if nothing else, man, we out.